and let's talk about these saboteurs essentially. Now, the seven protective paradigms, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just dive into each one and share with you kind of the essentials around the behaviors, the beliefs, the thoughts, the ideas, the perspectives that you can identify these paradigms by. But what I will say is each one is a bit of an umbrella term because underneath each paradigm, there are lots of different nuances, lots of different subtleties in how they manifest, how they show up, how they affect us. So it really is just a broad brush in this instance, but just to give you that introduction and you can just see if which ones resonate with you, where you recognize how you show up in your life or your business, and where you're sabotaging yourself. So, really, what are the seven protective paradigms in as an overview? Well, essentially, I like to see them as maladaptive ways that we adopted in order to get our needs met. And also, as the name suggests, protective, they keep us safe. So they help us get our needs met. Once upon a time they did, and once upon a time we adopted them to stay safe. But obviously now, as we're grown women, we're running businesses, many of us have families and household responsibilities to take care of. These paradigms do not serve us at all, and they can actually keep us feeling like we're constantly failing because we're not meeting our needs are never feeling like they're being met. And so now these paradigms are not serving a purpose, and yet we keep doing them. We keep operating within them because, of course, as paradigms, they are our programming. And our subconscious, they're so entrenched in our subconscious that to our subconscious mind, these behaviors make perfect sense. We can justify them so effectively. And of course, in childhood, we adopted them, as I said, to help us stay safe, hence protective. And in those moments that we did adopt these beliefs and behaviors, they were effective. In that moment that we tested them out or we tried them out, they were effective. They served a purpose in that moment. But because they served a purpose, we make an erroneous connection to their effectiveness. We think, oh, this works. And so we go out into the world and we this pattern gets reinforced and reinforced for its perceived effectiveness until it's part of who we are. And we find it very difficult to separate ourselves from the paradigm. And through my own personal experience of working through these myself, and also from Candice and I working with literally hundreds of clients over the years, we've come to identify seven core paradigms that manifest in various ways within our behaviors and our businesses, but they really keep us stuck. And as a result, they really do affect us in life. So, I love this saying, how you do anything is how you do everything. And so, what shows up in your business as a block will tend to be something that you are acting out in your personal life as well. So, before I go into the paradigms individually, I just want to say I know that this can feel exciting as well as overwhelming. And I say exciting, it is exciting because essentially you're going to be shifting some deep lifelong patterns and programs that have really blocked you. So by shifting them, you are setting yourself free. However, to our perceptions, by setting them free, they can come with some perceived risks. So I'm saying perceived very sort of pointedly there because this is part of the subconscious justifying the existence of these paradigms. So what do I mean by that? So it may feel hard to let go of these paradigms because of the perceived risks. So for example, if the control freak mode is one of your protective paradigms, letting go of control, releasing control might feel scary because there's a belief that, well, if I let go of control, my business will fall apart. Or if the people pleasing prison is one of your paradigms, then the whole idea of not gaining approval, not seeking approval, not being a nice girl feels really scary because I don't want to be an asshole. That means I'll have to be arrogant and, and I'll upset people. And of course, we don't want to do that. So that's another way that the paradigms stay locked in. Or, of course, without a plan, this is another one of the paradigms nuances. Without a plan, without a schedule, I'll be lazy. I'll be unproductive. And I like to see this is just the ego creeping in a back door. It's just coming in and trying to find another entrance in to keep you locked into the pattern. So the truth is that when you do this work, when you show up and you turn up to the calls and you ask your questions and you get curious and you raise self-awareness and you shine a spotlight on those shadow parts of you and you peel back the layers, what you'll find emerging is ultimate freedom. Ultimate freedom is the prize. And what is ultimate freedom? Well, I believe ultimate freedom is your ability to fully, really, and authentically express yourself, to be fully yourself, to come from that original, abundant, unconditioned state where you just are able to express yourself fully and without fear. So am I there yet? Is Candice there yet? No, we're not. Of course, we're sort of still works in progress. I still get triggered. I still wonder, oh, have I said something wrong? Or, was I too much? I think I was too much. I said too much. But I don't stay there for long. And I can promise you that I am so far from where I used to be. And I will possibly always be an unfinished chapter. I will always be doing this work. However, my business and my life is so far transformed from this work. It is night and day, unrecognizable. So I'm really, really excited for you to be able to go through this process. Okay, so let's talk about the 7 paradigms, as I say, that are keeping you broke. Now, they are in no particular order. Um, and you may recognize yourself in, more than 2 or 3, I would say. Some of them are very closely linked, so you tend to get one very closely linked with the other. But yeah, let's just see which ones resonate for you. So paradigm number 1 is the fear of being seen. So I don't think that requires too much explanation. This one is huge for us as entrepreneurs, and it is just so common. And visibility for me was definitely my biggest nemesis. The first major block when I started my business, the first major block that I was confronted by. I cannot tell you how unsafe it felt for me to be seen and heard. I was terrified, literally terrified of visibility. The idea of being disapproved of, judged, criticized, rejected, it was all there. But equally, this is the paradox. I desperately wanted to be seen. I wanted to use my voice. I love talking. I love presenting, but I was just too frightened. And actually, latterly, I discovered my passion for performing. Put me on a stage and I literally come alive. And I honestly think that if I hadn't have done this work, I wouldn't be doing right now what I'm doing, what I love to do, both in my business and in my acting diploma, if I hadn't have worked through this paradigm. So the fear of visibility speaks for itself, terrified of showing up, not going on camera, fearful of doing live streams, all of those kind of things. But another flavor of this paradigm is that it can manifest in actually feeling really icky and awkward promoting and selling yourself. So if you procrastinate on putting yourself out there, maybe you're wildly inconsistent, you show up for 2 weeks or something every day, or you set yourself a 30-day challenge, which is what I used to do a lot, a 30-day streak of doing video, and then I would be down for 2 months hiding under the duvet. So it's wild inconsistency. And then you have all the excuses under the sun, which sound very, very plausible and valid and reasonable as to why you're not ready to show up or why you can't show up. So yeah, marketing feels icky, sales conversations make you want to run away and hide. And of course, we know the real cost of this paradigm. It's that you remain invisible to your ideal clients. You don't get seen, you don't get heard, your message and your gifts aren't being fully expressed. And we know as your business suffers from this, we know the emotional, the financial, the mental toll that this takes, because at the end of the day, you know your business is coming from that place of passion and purpose. So when you're not expressing, it really, really hurts. And and I've had clients who've said to me, look, Sanaya, I know you're going to tell me that I need to do video and show up and all of this, but it really isn't me. It's really just not me. It's not a block. It's just not me. And again, I would challenge that, because the part of you that that is saying it's just not me, that's not you. Because the part of you that is real as an entrepreneur is the big, bold, authentic you. And I know that if you're here, you have a passion for serving others. You have a powerful message that needs a voice, that you want to give voice to. And also, you have incredible gifts that you want to share with the world. So I'm going to challenge that showing up just isn't me. If you are here and you have this passion in your heart to serve others and share your voice, share your message. So as you don't worry, as you work through these modules and you show up and you allow yourself to be supported, you will reconnect to that part of you who will relish and feel really excited to share your message. So that's paradigm number one. Paradigm number two, we have called the people pleasing prison. Now, this was again a huge one for me, and it's still a work in progress. But I will always remember my very dear friend, coach, and mentor in all things self worth, Faye Hurley, saying to me that my being nice was actually a survival response. And I remember I was just like, what? And when she said that, it instantly resonated. It instantly felt like I'd just heard a fundamental truth. And we've all heard of, the main three survival responses, which are fight, flight, and freeze. But the fourth survival response is little talked about, and it shouldn't be, but it is, and that's fawning. Fawning. Fawning is a way to stay safe by ensuring that we are liked, that we are approved of. And in doing that, we take responsibility for everyone else's emotions. We give in to everyone else's needs and wants, thereby sidestepping, and ignoring our own needs. And, I've had so many experiences with clients and my own experience where, to a really extreme degree, we have put our needs on the back burner. So, a recent example was a client of mine fell ill, was away on holiday, fell ill, was hospitalized, and actually almost died. She'd contracted some illness that, had she not gone to hospital within 12 hours, she would have died. And so she recovered in hospital. When she was sent home, when she was discharged, instead of taking the time to recover and process the enormity of this experience in her nervous system, she went straight back to work. Why? Because she didn't want to let her clients down. She didn't want to disappoint anyone. And it was exactly the same for me when my mother passed away. When my mother passed, I was contacting all of my clients, reassuring them that nothing would change, that their schedule was okay, I was available as normal, and I was even apologizing profusely the week of my mum's funeral, saying that I needed to take some days off. And it floors me now to think about it, but it was so ingrained in me that it didn't even occur to me. And all of my clients were so amazing, and they were saying, for goodness sake, we're good. Go and do what you need to do. Go and take that time and grieve. And I didn't. I was so convinced that I was okay and I didn't want to disappoint anyone. And I had this fear of letting people down as well. And ultimately, within 6 months, I was burnt out, completely burnt out, because I hadn't honored my needs, what I want, what was required for me to process that grief. So people pleasing can also look like in your business over delivering, undercharging, we're afraid of people saying, what? Who do you think you are charging that? And so we undercharge. And of course, we say yes when we mean no. And the real cost of this people pleasing prison is, we get burnt out. We undermine ourselves. We attract people who treat us badly. Therefore, we feel resentful. And clients who don't value our work come into our field all the time because they're just mirrors. So, this one is, a huge one. And if it resonates with you, again, I'm so super excited to support you to be able to rise above the people pleasing prison. Okay, so paradigm number 3. This is productivity guilt. Productivity guilt. This is really where we tie our self-worth and our value with our productivity. So I am only valuable when I am being productive. When I've had a good productive day, then I can reward myself. Then I can feel successful. And for those of you who have productivity guilt, you may recognize that rest feels like laziness. And you guilt trip yourself for not working 24/7. Or maybe you beat yourself up in the evenings, most evenings, because you just didn't get enough done that day. You didn't do everything you wanted to do. And so this one, I think there is again, the paradox here with this paradigm is around the aspiration for a schedule, the desire to be disciplined and be consistent. So you really love a schedule. But in spite of loving a schedule and really aspiring to one, and you have fun creating a schedule and getting it all planned out, you struggle to stick with it. You fall off within a week. Why? Well, this is the paradox. It's because the schedule is not the solution you need, because the real problem is not a lack of productivity or a lack of discipline or more organization. It's a lack of self-worth and self-value. And no schedule will give you that. And since we can never create, behave, act greater than our self-concept, than our beliefs about ourselves, the only solution to this is to increase your self-worth, which pretty much goes for all of these. But, the productivity guilt is a big one for this. So, of course, the real cost is decision fatigue, creative blocks, and of course, eventual burnout, and never feeling like you're enough. The hidden belief with this one is, I have to prove that I deserve success through struggle. That tends to be the common one. There's no success without struggle, and I need to prove myself through my struggle. I sometimes call this the hero complex, where we will deliberately cause ourselves to kind of dive into some ditch so we can get really productive, get on that hero wagon and climb our way out and say, look what I did. I did it all by myself, and get this kind of self-worth through struggle. Okay, so I'm just going to take a sip. So paradigm 4 is what we've called control freak mode. So just by way of a quick example, I have a wonderful client who I love so much, and she comes in and out of working with me periodically through the years. And generally when she comes in, we do this little dance. It's like a verbal dance that we do, and we always end up laughing about it. And then she has her shift, her mental shift. But generally she'll come to me and we'll have a chat, and I'll say, what is it you need? And she says, you know what I need? I need a plan. Just give me a plan. Give me a structure and a plan, and I'll be golden. And what's always underneath that, give me a plan, don't talk to me about anything else, just give me a plan, is this kind of, fuck that mindset shit. That's the sentiment that goes unsaid, but I can hear it loud and clear. Until that is, we get started, we do the mindset work. She has her shift, she has her kind of mic drop moment, and she's able to move forward. So why might a plan be part of this protective paradigm, the control freak protective paradigm? Well, again, it's not about what a plan, it's not about the plan as such. Plan's not a bad thing. Having a plan is great, but it's about what that plan, for my client in particular, what that plan represents. This paradigm is about, what does control represent? So, as I said, plan is not a bad thing. A plan is a great thing as long as the intention is clean. But in my client's example, when we looked at, what would you be like without a plan? You know, how would you manage without a plan? What does a plan really give you? And all of a sudden, we realized, or she recognized very clearly, that the plan meant, or without a plan, she'd be all at sea. Without a plan, she'd be a terrible entrepreneur. She'd be useless. Without a plan, she wouldn't be able to make money. So the plan is like a sticking plaster covering up these deep seated fears around her own self identity. So it's like a crutch. But she needs to clear, well, she needs to clear that. And then she can implement a plan from a higher energy and stick with it. So control freak mode can look like that. It can also make delegating feel impossible. And therefore, you become the bottleneck in your business. So, you know, you may have hired people in your business to support you when things have been going well and you wanted that extra help, but it never seemed to last beyond a couple of months, whether that's because you started to get frustrated and pull the work back because, you know, they just can't do it right, or, you know, you just found some reason to fall out with them, whatever it is. Maybe the business stopped flowing, so you cancelled, you stopped paying them because you couldn't afford it. So all of these things are saboteurs around this particular control freak mode. And of course, we know the real cost of this, and that is that you cannot scale beyond your personal capacity. So you stay within that limit. And the hidden belief around this is no one can do it right. And of course, as I said, for my client, without a plan, I'm all at sea. If I don't have control, my business will fail. So these kind of beliefs are ingrained and common within this paradigm. Okay, so paradigm number 5 is validation addiction. So I was working with a coach a while back, and she created archetypes in her business. And she talked about a particular archetype that had the validation addiction characteristic or quality. And she called this archetype the prostitute. The prostitute, because this archetype gains her validation, her sense of self worth horizontally. Whereas her opposite archetype is the queen archetype. And do this, the queen archetype is very connected to her source, very grounded, and her self-worth is vertical. Like it's like the core runs right the way through her. There's no doubt, there's no question of her self-worth. So that's very much this queen energy archetype. So the validation addiction paradigm is very much, or very much looks like, you get your self-worth from your latest client win. You know, your self-worth depends on your bank balance. It depends on your social media engagements, how many likes you've got. And it makes you very vulnerable to what is going on outside of you. What is the 3D world reflecting back to you makes you feel exposed and vulnerable, and you're kind of like a leaf flowing in the wind, because whatever comes at you, it kind of tosses you about and it affects you. And I have a really good example of this. One of my clients, a beautiful hypnotherapist, she struggled for years because she couldn't stick to one message or one offer or one price point. There was constantly changing. And every time she changed, she was like full of excitement. Said, this is it, this is it. Before long, it no longer was it. She was constantly changing. And it was because of this paradigm and the belief that everyone else is right. Everyone else is right. And I need to keep checking that I'm aligned with everyone else around me. You know, I get my sense of worth from everyone else. And so with my hypnotherapist client, she would put a message out there using a particular language. You know, for example, just to use an example, she might say, you know, I'm a confidence coach, I'll help you regain your confidence. And then if somebody came in and talked to her about, oh, it's my self-esteem, I really need help with my self-esteem, she would think, oh, self-esteem is the language of my clients and the, you know, people out there. So all of a sudden she'd strip down her banner, she'd be changing her bio, she'd be changing her job title to something with self-esteem in. um, and you could see how over time it just, she gets lost in it all, and it diminishes her sense of self, and it loses credibility as people are seeing you constantly chopping and changing your messaging. And as for the pricing, anytime she put an offer out there, people would get on a discovery call. All it would take was one person just to say, that's too expensive, sorry, can't afford that, and go. And all of a sudden she's thinking, that means I'm too expensive. So whatever feedback she was getting, and of course, I'm not saying feedback is a bad thing. We want to take this into consideration, but alignment is more powerful. But also think about, you know, where that feedback is coming from. And also, you've got to test things over a period of time. So I think that makes sense. So it really is important to understand that when you are in alignment and you are holding steady, you're holding true, you're in your queen energy, that these things will no longer affect you. You won't be blown about and in a tailspin thinking about what other people's opinions are like gospel. So the cost of this on your business, of course, it's an emotional roller coaster and it affects decision making massively. And it tends to be, I've also seen patterns within this that, you know, people can tend to get stuck in the past. You know, if you've had a period of success in the past, things were going well, the clients were rolling in, the cash was rolling in, and then you hit an upper limit. Great, great. The upper limit means you're being called to your next level where you just maybe realign with a new self concept, or you create some next level offer. But very often we don't know that. You know, we don't recognize that this is an upper limit because it feels horrible. You know, it's noisy in our heads, triggering in our bodies. And when things aren't working, because actually the truth is we're in lag time between the old and the new, but if we don't know that, we start to backpedal. We try and recreate that old success. And of course that never works because you've outgrown that. So if you're stuck in this paradigm or you're operating within this paradigm, often it can have you harking back to the past and getting stuck there. Okay, so the penultimate paradigm is perfection paralysis. So, perfection paralysis, what it looks like is over preparing, second guessing, never feeling ready enough, never feeling good enough. And this one went hand in hand for me with the visibility, the fear of visibility, because when I started putting myself out there and I would try to be recording, say, a 5-minute video, I kid you not, it would take me about 70 takes to record one 5-minute video. I would be stammering, stuttering, stalling, and starting again if once I'd recorded it, hair was out of place or I wasn't perfect, you know, it wasn't all crease free, or I maybe ummed a bit too much in the video, then I would scrap it and start all over again. And in the pursuit of perfection, which is a fool's game, in the pursuit of perfection, I wasted so much time and energy, precious time and energy that I could have been spent on growing my audience, connecting with people, making money, growing my business. So yeah, it's a tough one. Perfectionism is often a shield. You know, if I'm perfect, then I'm safe from being criticized or judged or rejected. And of course, we know as all paradigms, it stems from childhood, but perhaps in childhood, uh, you know, love, praise, acceptance was conditional, conditional on performance, conditional on good behavior. And so we develop this belief that if I mess up, I'll be shamed, I'll be criticized, I'll be excluded, and therefore the risk is too great. And obviously, the cost in your business is missed opportunities, delayed launches, overwhelm. And yeah, and when we tie our worth on looking flawless, we lose that authenticity. That's not freedom at all. Okay, so final paradigm. I was going to say success paradigm there. Final protective paradigm is success guilt. So, success guilt looks like feeling selfish for celebrating. This looks like um, feeling like you need to tone down your celebrations and your success because you might upset others, because others are struggling and you don't want to trigger them. You minimize your wins so as to, you know, stay humble. And often you focus on what's not working. So, Gay Hendricks, in his incredible book, The Big Leap, talks about this success guilt as the fear of outshining. And again, personal example, this showed up for me around my debt shame. So, it wasn't about guilt to the external world, but it was my guilt aimed at me. So, when I was in debt, I literally postponed joy because I didn't believe I deserved to be enjoying myself or feeling successful when I had all this debt. So it's like I needed to be ashamed enough in order to be able to mobilize myself to clear this debt. And of course, that's you know, the paradox there is that the shame was actually the thing that was keeping the debt in place. So as soon as I did the work that you'll be guided through in this program, soon as I did that work and I cleared that negative emotion, I cleared the charge and the shame, I started to feel greater levels of joy in the moment, in spite of the debt. But when that happened, the debt just diminished. It got cleared with so much ease and it became an inevitability of my joy. So, really, really powerful to absolutely lean into being able to enjoy your success and enjoy your joy now. Another way this shows up, this success guilt, is many of my clients struggle with marketing themselves and promoting themselves because they equate marketing and promoting to boasting. And they were taught, raised to believe that good girls, nice girls don't brag. So, of course, that's going to affect their ability to really go out there and share their message and share their gifts with integrity. So, yeah, the belief here, if I'm doing well and others are struggling, I need to tone down my celebrations. And of course, the cost to this is that you sabotage your success because it feels wrong. And it feels wrong to have more than others. So, a general hidden belief around this is good people struggle. You know, wealthy people are selfish, but good people, yeah, virtuous people struggle. So, okay, let's grab a tea. I hope you found this introduction helpful. As I said, I just wanted to kind of talk about them at a higher level before we start to dive in. And maybe you've had some insights and some mic drop moments, and I've been able to raise a bit of awareness to where you might be behaving under a paradigm or where how they're manifesting in your business and blocking you, and trusting that as we go through this process, you will start to peel these layers away and really lean into greater levels of freedom, authenticity, and full, joyful self expression. So, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.